Hi guys. So I've been watching a lot of cosplayer videos or cosplay rants lately, and I decided I was going to put my 2 cents in. It's mostly about things that irritate me that happen at cons. Mostly in specifics to cosplaying and people's reactions to it and stuff. First of all, I'd like to say, I really, really don't like it that, people are like, oh, closet cosplay, that's stupid and lame, and you are obviously, you don't care enough about it. And it really irritates me because, first of all, I mean, I can understand that some closet cosplays should not happen, but it really depends on the character. I mean, I've seen a lot of good closet cosplays. I've seen some bad closet cosplays too. One of my first cosplays was Canada from Italia, and one day I just looked in my closet and I was like, oh, I have a jacket, and it looks ridiculously like Canada's jacket. I mean, I just need to add those belts and get a couple items, and it'll be good to go. That was fine. People knew who I was, and it was the day I was recognized the most, and I really enjoyed it. Um, and a lot of times I've gotten stuff and I've like repurposed it from thrift stores, and those turn out nicely. People really like them. Um, and another good way, you can really get away with closet cosplay if you have a character that has something distinctive about it. In particular, like I am also a Romano cosplayer. Any Italy cosplayer can just go ahead and they put that wig on and they put something else on. It can be a t-shirt and jeans, and they're cosplaying because of that wig. That wig makes them that character. So really, it depends on the character you're cosplaying. So I don't like that people write it off because it's still cosplay. Okay, another thing. Here's the start of my list. Getting hit on at a convention in cosplay. I suppose if it's another character from the series and they would like legitimately be hitting on your character or something, then that's fine. I haven't actually run into that really. But I have a couple of my friends and I have been hit on at cons, and it gets kind of irritating because I'm really nice, and I don't know how to be like, no, I don't want to talk to you, please go away. There's really no nice way to say that. It kind of involves lying and stuff like, oh yeah, we have to go somewhere right now. It's really hard for me to do that. I mean, one time we were going to AWA, and these two guys walk up, and they're both kind of like half drunk or whatever. And first of all, they thought I was 12. My mistake was getting irritated and deciding to correct them, and then they invited us to a party. And I'm like, we're at a convention. Why the hell would we go to a party? Then they thought we were sisters, and I'm like, yeah, you're really drunk. We don't look related. But apparently a couple people have thought that before. It's generally, it's really uncomfortable because there's no nice way to say, go away. So, I mean, if you really want to get to know someone and make friends, that's fine, go ahead. I mean, if you really think you'd like somebody, then don't creep them out and start hitting on them right away. It's just all I gotta say about that. Another thing, I've run into this, my first convention ever was MomoCon a couple of years ago. And we had a small group going, well, not like terribly small, I guess it was a medium-sized group. And we decided a couple weeks in advance that when the schedule came out, that we were going to make a plan, and we had all the panels we were going to at what times, and a lot of people made compromises to go to these things so that everybody was happy. And, that was fine. It worked out nicely. I'm going to say that at least 4 or 5 of the people in these groups were a couple years younger than the majority of the group, so we kind of had to take responsibility for them, which was irritating because we found out when we got to the convention that they were not going to follow the plan they agreed to. And they would decide, oh, well, we want to go to this. And so we had to drop what we were doing and make sure they didn't go off and do something stupid. I mean, one of our friends ended up having to just follow them around for like half the convention. And I was very irritated because I think it was the last day on Sunday, and I had discovered like the otaku room for the dealer's room. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I still have all this money because I'm generally a penny pincher. And so when I was at a convention, I was like, oh, I can't save my money because otherwise I'm not going to be able to spend it. It's going to be over, and I'm not going to have bought what I wanted to buy. I've learned my lesson. Anyway, but I discovered the otaku room, and I was looking around, and I hadn't even gotten through all the room yet. And the girl's mom that had drove us there and was in charge of the hotel was like, yeah, we're kind of sick of these younger kids. We're leaving. Let's go. And so I was like, Anyway, so yeah, my advice is have a plan. I mean, it doesn't have to be rock solid, but it's really annoying when, I mean, generally stick to that plan, but also know that if you're in a group, it's gonna probably change a little bit. Um, okay, here's something. I ran into this a couple like this convention I went to, Anime Blast, and then also ASE. Um, I did ASE was the first time I had ever done a panel. I had come up with it with a few friends, and it was a Italian dating panel, and I was not supposed to be in charge of it. Like, first of all, a couple weeks in advance, actually like a couple 2-3 months, I had come up with questions, and I liked them, but I wanted to go over them with a couple of my friends to make sure we had the time limit right and we had enough questions for the time space, and they didn't want to practice them, and I'm like, we're gonna go into this blind. And so the day of, we got ready 2 hours early, and was trying to set up. And one of my friends had the sets of questions and was running all over the convention, so we were all chasing them down, and I was getting very stressed out. That was like one of the first times I was Romano, so it was funny because I was stomping around looking for them, and it was the first time I think I've ever seen anybody legitimately clear a path through me, because I probably looked pretty mad. Also, in relation to that, if at all possible, I would avoid con drama. It just generally does not it makes any convention not fun. And the point of the convention is to have fun, so you don't want to spend the convention avoiding certain people, or, like, oh, I wonder what so and so is doing, and I want to know how I can make their convention miserable, because that's not how you do it. And it's not a good idea. It's not a nice feeling when somebody's keeping you from going somewhere because you're like, I don't want to see them, I don't want to talk to them, I don't want to look at them. It's uncomfortable. A big thing I really, really hate is when people criticize other people's cosplays. Okay, let's get this straight. First of all, not everyone has a couple $100s to spend on cosplays and wigs, nor the time to make it, because that can be just as expensive as buying it. A lot of time and effort goes into cosplays. I understand that. If you can do that, then that's great. That's awesome. You're wonderful. You probably should go enter that in a contest or something. But I really, really hate it when people do that. I have an Ask blog, an Ask Spamano blog, and people were like, wow, Romano, you have a bob wig. I don't understand that. And your cosplays suck. And I'm like, first of all, I don't have the money to buy an actual Romano cosplay. So I have a jacket that looks like, I still need to dye it, but it looks really similar to the Romano jacket. I realize that my wig is a little longer, but I have really long hair and it's really thick. So if it was any shorter, it would look ridiculous because you could probably see like the bundle of my hair underneath it. And I've seen lots of people get criticized for cosplays. That's not what it's about. It's for fun. So that generally really irritates me because you have no business telling people, oh, that sucks. You shouldn't be cosplaying. You're a disgrace to cosplayers everywhere. Another thing, kind of a tangent. I don't like it when people are like, oh, cosplayers are such losers, or, get a life. It's a hobby. Cosplaying is a hobby, just as anime is a hobby. You can be really passionate about it, and that's great. That's fun. Personally, cosplay is a way I relieve stress, and I get really stressed out because everything. I get really stressed about everything, so I like to cosplay, and I'll be unwind and sometimes be ridiculous, especially if I'm sleepy. Another thing, cosplayers, I've seen a lot of people that are kind of loud and obnoxious, and it makes me a little sad because it's like, I really want to like you, I like your cosplay, or, but I've run into quite a few people that push their boundaries a little bit, especially if they're younger. I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong with younger cosplayers or congoers because they're really nice and I like them, and sometimes I just want to hug them all, but yeah, I mean, I guess it depends, because just general con excitement, and sometimes it gets overwhelming. You're like, oh my gosh, everything! then that's fine, but you should tone it down a little bit. I've also run into quite a few people that, like if you have something like a prop with your cosplay and they'll start playing with it, or that's not okay. Especially if if the cosplayer is politely trying to get it back and they don't want to break it, it gets kind of nerve-wracking. I've seen someone I knew did a Loki cosplay, and she had made the Tesseract, and one of our friends took it and was running around all the convention with it, and I had to chase her down and get it back, and I was so scared I was gonna break it because it was like this kind of breakable plastic thing, and it looked really nice, but I didn't want it to get broken because I'm chasing after her and she's holding onto it pretty strongly. I don't want to break it because she's put a lot of effort into it. Second, or not secondly, but let's remember cosplayers love compliments. So even if you're not in cosplay or you are in cosplay or whatever, it's okay. Cosplayers generally love it if you walk up to them and be like, "Oh man, I love your cosplay," or if you want to give them a hug or take pictures of them, or just take pictures of them. I think the biggest compliment you can probably get as a cosplayer is for someone to stop you and ask for your picture. Especially if you're cosplaying in a group or with another person, it's a lot of fun. It's really great. You sit there and you'll go on like YouTube and DeviantArt and be like, "Oh, I need to look for these pictures." So also, if you take those pictures or videos, please post them, because I know as a cosplayer, I'm always like, why aren't lots of people stopped us for pictures? Where'd they go? As a general warning, I know a lot of people say it, but it's because nobody actually listens to it. You need to stay hydrated and eat food. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to shove food into my friends' faces because they're like, "Oh, I'm not hungry," or "It's convention, I don't really want to eat food." It's like, you haven't eaten since we got here. You're gonna eat food. I'm not hungry, but I have to eat food, so you need to eat food too. Not that that's a reason. It's just you need to eat food. It's con. You waste a lot of energy, even if you don't seem like you're doing anything. It's just all the general atmosphere sucks energy. It gives you energy, but it sucks at energy too. So you'll have this massive crash later, but it's still kind of fun. Another thing, tangent. Trying to get sleep in between the days, or the day before the concerts. I personally can say I'm guilty of not always getting as much sleep, and I don't know why. I think it's because I'm obsessive, and I'll sit there and run a mental checklist of everything I need to do, and I just can't sleep. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and but yeah, because you will run out of energy really fast. The last convention I went to, this last weekend, was crazy. Every single day I got ridiculously sleepy. I think the Saturday was probably the worst. I was almost kind of carried out of the convention because I was so exhausted, and I was kind of giggling and falling all over the floor. And unfortunately for us, it was including myself, it was a group of 3. And I don't think any of us were fit to drive, but we did anyway. I had to miss my first yaoi panel because we were all so exhausted. We're like, we can't stay here. I think the last point I want to make is group cosplays are a lot of fun. Pairing cosplays do not. But that should not. You should not depend on the other person or other people for the cosplay. I know I made I specifically went and made a Pirate Spain because my friend was making a Pirate England. Took a good while. I had to enlist my mom for help, and I only made that cosplay because she was doing a Pirate England, and I was like, we should have a pirate battle. Turns out she didn't get that done for the convention, and so I had mine done, but I was just by myself. So it's she eventually got it done, and that's fine. Whatever, but I understand stuff, but just don't plan your cosplays around other people sometimes, because I've noticed people change their mind a lot, and they're like, I don't feel like doing that today. It's like, but we talked about this. Yeah, so just cons are a lot of fun, and So stick to compliments, not criticism. And everybody will be so much happier.